Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose and Xbox Game Pass. It's been an interesting week for Game Pass, I'd have to say. But with another update, the second half of July sounds absolutely incredible. Like, just absolutely incredible. They are bringing the goods with multiple day one releases, very interesting ones at that, and now also sounds like they're going to deliver one of the biggest and most popular games of the last year. So we're going to get into all of that today. Very exciting stuff for you Xbox Game Pass subscribers out there. Plus, we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch and a new milestone that it just reached, and then also a couple interesting new games that were recently announced. So you know what? Let's just go and get right into it, starting off with one of those new announcements being Castaway. Yeah, I think when you see this game, it might remind you of another old school retro Nintendo game. I'm not going to say the name of the game, but I think it's pretty clear here that there's some loose inspiration, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But I also have to say, as a fan of that specific game, this looks pretty good. The game description says you retrieve your weapons, face bosses to save your dog in a retro adventure focused on 3 dungeons. Finish the story mode to unlock the survivor mode, a 50-floor death tower. You'll enjoy classic mechanics, charming visual style, and an enchanting soundtrack. Now, with that in mind, it does kind of sound like this will be a small game, just 3 dungeons, so I'm not expecting this to be a very long game, but if you're looking for a retro adventure, I mean, you might want to go and put this one on your radar. They just gave us a release date, and I mean, check it out. You're not going to have to wait too long. It's set to release next month on August 16th for Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and of course, Nintendo as well. I mean, it would almost be criminal not to have this on a Nintendo platform. It's going to fit right in on the Nintendo Switch when it releases next month. Now, if you want to play some new games this month, though, and if you have Xbox Game Pass, well, it's going to be a fun month, and that all starts next week. We already have 3 major day one releases that are confirmed. We'll come back to that here in just a second. But now, according to a new leak from Tom Henderson over on Insider Gaming, he has proven himself as a credible insider, and according to his sources, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is slated for Xbox Game Pass later this month. Now, he mentioned that they don't know the exact release date just yet. They just kind of know that it will be in the latter half of July. And, you know, this is really what we've all been waiting for. I mean, it's kind of crazy to look back on all of this now, but Microsoft announced their intent to acquire Activision Blizzard way back in January of 2022. So it's been close to 3 full years since that announcement, and we've gone through all the ups and downs that acquisition has brought. We had to witness the FTC drama, all of the different regulators coming in, and it's been a crazy, wild ride, not just for Microsoft, but for fans as well. So this was always the reward, and I think some fans have kind of gotten impatient because it's taking a long time, but it looks like that wait is finally almost over. The inclusion of Activision Blizzard games in Xbox Game Pass are upon us, according to multiple different leaks. According to everything that we're hearing right now, the floodgates are finally going to open up starting this month with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. This new leak also follows a report that Xbox plans to drip feed Activision Blizzard content into Xbox Game Pass, including the Crash Insane trilogy, which is currently planned for August. Then Spyro Reignited and Tony Hawk remakes are allegedly coming quote-unquote soon as well. So, I mean, if you think about it, there could actually be a new Activision Blizzard game for Game Pass every single month for the rest of 2024, which includes the day one releases for both Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred and then their big new megaton, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now that's going to be their true test. You know, we'll see how that impacts Call of Duty and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. There's a lot of potential, if anything else. Either which way, though, I mean, Modern Warfare 3 will be a huge, huge addition to Game Pass later this month. This game isn't even a year old yet, and it's consistently among the most popular games thanks to its multiplayer component. I mean, its single player wasn't exactly all that well received, but its multiplayer, on the other hand, that's really the bread and butter for this series, and with the addition of Game Pass, I'd expect Call of Duty to get a lot more players sometime here soon. I mean, there was a report here recently that Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl saw a major boost in player count because of Xbox Game Pass, and that's probably only the tip of the iceberg for something like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. So, you know what? There it is. It's been a long wait, but Game Pass subscribers are about ready to get the goods. That's kind of the thing about all this, though, because Xbox Game Pass isn't just about the first-party content, despite some of the stuff that's been going around this week. Xbox does a really good job at getting third-party partnerships with day one games, and we have 3 of those to look forward to just next week alone. All 3 of these games are going to release over a 2-day period, so, it's going to be tough to choose which to start with first. But on July 18th, Dungeons of Hinterberg will launch into Xbox Game Pass. This is a very stylized independent game that reminds me a little bit of Zelda. It's got more of a cozy vibe to it with what appears to be some kind of social sim elements, but the meat and potatoes of this game seems to be with its dungeons. You're going to unlock different kinds of magic, you're going to battle monsters, and you're going to solve puzzles within these dungeons, Zelda style. Now, from what I've seen, it looks both fun and creative. There does seem to be some well thought out puzzles, and I'd say right now, this is one of the most anticipated independent games for the entire year of 2024. So hopefully it'll live up to its lofty expectations, but that's the beauty of something like Game Pass. If you're subscribed, you're going to get it tested out yourself without that extra risk. Now, if you want something a little bit more action-packed, though, well, you also have Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which is set to release on the exact same day, July 18th. Now, I kind of wish that these games were spread out a little bit better. It is what it is, but Flintlock has grabbed a lot of attention ever since its first reveal. This is a game from the same studio that created Ashen A44. Now, personally, I really liked Ashen. I thought it was a solid Souls-like game with a unique atmosphere and art style. And I hope that they can one-up that in Flintlock Siege of Dawn, which is a much bigger game for them. They are once again describing it as a Souls-like, but even though it's a Souls-like, it does seem to have its own unique flair as well. You have this little magical creature that fights alongside you. You also have a gun, and I'd say for that reason, Flintlock reminds me a little bit more of Bloodborne, whereas Ashen was more Dark Souls. Now, I'm not saying that it's a one-to-one comparison, but I do like that we're starting to see more games inspired by Bloodborne. That is such a great game, and, Sony sure isn't doing anything with that franchise. But with games like Lies of P and now Flintlock Siege of Dawn, maybe, just maybe that will help fill the void a tiny little bit. Now, the other day one game that you can expect, and this is probably the most unique of the bunch, this one is coming from Capcom Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. It'll release just one day later on July 19th, and there's nothing really else like this game, which is exactly why I think it's so interesting in the first place. In a day and age where it feels like most things are sequels or copycats, it's nice to see something completely different. To see something try to do its own thing. The way Capcom describes it, though, is that it's an action strategy game inspired by Japanese historical culture. So, yeah, I want to check this game out. I want to see how this game plays. And that's actually one thing that I want to go and talk about here. They just announced a demo for it today that you can play, actually, right now. So if you want to try something new this weekend, hey, maybe go check out Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess. Either way, though, Xbox Game Pass for the second half of July is pretty stacked, to say the least. Now, we do have an interesting update for the Nintendo Switch as well, and I think by this point, most of us are just kind of ready for the Switch successor. For as good as the Switch has been, I think it's one of the best consoles of all time from a library standpoint. But, it's been a long time, and we're ready for an upgrade. Well, that makes sense even more today because apparently the Nintendo Switch is now officially Nintendo's longest generation before being replaced by a successor. This was posted up by the Video Games Chronicle, and they put out a nice bar graph to compare each generation. And you can see here, the Switch surpassed the Famicom. They said that it's now been 2,687 days since launch, beating the 2,686 between Famicom and Super Famicom. So the Switch for Nintendo is a historical console in multiple ways. And truth be told, I mean, the Switch is probably going to extend that record by quite a bit. It's going to be 2025 before we get that eventual successor, and even then, we don't know if it's going to release early or late in the year. I mean, I'm hoping here that the Switch will release in the first half of 2025, but that does remain to be seen. If they make us wait until late 2025, yeah, that's going to be seriously deflating. But right now, I am optimistic that it'll be an early 2025 release similar to what they did with the Nintendo Switch. Now, one last thing before we go, a new Double Dragon game got a surprise announcement from Arc System. Yeah, I was not expecting this, but the legendary beat-em-up franchise is set to return sometime in 2025. You can see some of its gameplay here, and it kind of reminds me more of the PS2 era of brawlers, rather than what we've been seeing recently with this genre. I mean, we've been getting a lot more of those retro beat-em-up brawlers like River City Girls, Streets of Rage 4, and Shredder's Revenge, all of which are absolutely fantastic games. But this one does remind me a little bit more of the PS2 era, and it does seem like the reaction has been relatively strong so far. Its trailer currently has 130,000 views with 5.8 thousand likes compared to just 500 dislikes. So that's a good sign, if anything else, and even better here is that it is coming to most platforms. It'll be on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, which, yes, does include the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 as well. Now, to me, I think that's also a pretty good sign for you Nintendo fans out there. That means that the Switch successor is probably going to be pretty capable of running this game as well. I do assume that because it can run on the PS4 and Xbox One, that it can also run on the Switch successor. And, I mean, that is something you have to kind of remember. A lot of these games right now can't announce that they're coming to the Switch successor because, well, Nintendo hasn't announced that console themselves. But, you know, a lot of these games could actually end up on that console as well. Whatever the case may be, though, I do want to hear from you Double Dragon fans out there. Are you impressed by this new gameplay? Are you excited about this game? Let me hear it in the comments below. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but do hit that subscribe button, and until next time, peace out.